19th August each year, we celebrate the National Potato Day in order to raise the profile of this important food crop, therefore promoting its production, processing, consumption, marketing, and trade. This year, the Standard Group, through the Farm Kenya Initiative, in partnership with Nyandarua County Government, Agriculture and Food Authority, National Potato Council of Kenya, International Potato Center (CIP), Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization, and key stakeholders in the industry will have a live forum on KTN News and KTN Farmers TV on Thursday, 19th August from 9 a.m. to discuss the state of potato farming in the country and to explore steps that can be taken to support and promote development of the entire potato industry.
Welcome back and thank you for keeping it KTN News and KTN Farmers TV. Today we are coming to you live from Nyandarua County and today it's the National Potato Day, and with me is a distinguished guest of panel who have been helping us unpack this conversation on the potato for us to understand why this crop is very important for us as a country. Beatrice, maybe I come back to you. You talked about the regulations and that the demand for the regulation came from the stakeholders, even the farmers. One thing that I've been following on when it comes to the Irish potato is that the farmers were happy with a 50-kilogram bag, but they were not happy with the registration. How did that? How do you think those regulations were received from the directorate?
Thank you for that good question. And I would like to inform the viewers that the bit of registration was misinterpreted by some bloggers. And we came strongly on board as a directorate to demystify what was going on in social media, that from today, you will need a license to grow potatoes. From today, you will not sell your potatoes as a farmer until you are licensed by AFA. That was wrong information to the public, Keitani. But together with our stakeholders, we teamed up and we put it straight that the regulations are anchored on the Crops Act. That is our mother act, which we are enforcing and implementing as AFA. When you go to the Crops Act, it requires that farmers of the organized commodities register with their cooperative societies. Like, for example, in the case of coffee, they will register with the cooperative societies for coffee. But when it came to food, small-scale farmers, it says may, so it's not mandatory, may register with an association. So there's freedom of registration. We are not really compelling farmers to register. We are giving them freedom to make a choice to register with associations. And for the large-scale farmers, the law requires that they register with AFA. Why are we requiring farmers to register with associations? We all know that our farmers practice the potato farming in small holder farms. And if we join together in associations, we can then mop up this produce for purposes of market linkages. For example, you might need a processor who needs some tonnage of potatoes supplied on a weekly basis. And if you're alone as a farmer and you're producing 6 bags, then it becomes difficult to link you to markets. So these regulations compel farmers that they register with associations for purposes of supporting them. When you are in associations, it is even easier to give incentives. It is easier to build capacity, because then when you train a group of farmers, the information is spread wider than targeting one grower. Registration, also, the associations need to deposit the register with the county governments. We all know that agriculture, a big part of agriculture initiatives are devolved to the county governments. So, as a government, we need to know who our farmers are. When we sit and plan that we need to develop these volumes of seed, we need to do it from an informed point of view. Who are these farmers that we are targeting, for example, in matters of seed? Who are these farmers that, for example, when we have a development partner who wants to invest in the potato value chain, who are these farmers that then we can link this development partner to them? So the regulations requires that the county government has a register for all its growers. And because county government and national government, we work together, and then as national government, we will get the register from the county government, which will inform also policy decisions. Thank you.
Okay. Let me go to Mr. Kagwango a little bit. Just touch on a little bit of the new regulations. What did you think as the National Potato Council?
Thank you. As Madam Beatrice has said, the regulations were demand-driven. We started pushing for these regulations. As I told you, National Potato Council tries to bring people together to solve the problems that are there. One of the problems has been farmers selling potato with extended bags, which means they are normally exploited. Poor places, a lot of potato packed in one bag, plus other issues of that big bag include wastage and spoilage, because the big bag, the handlers, because it's heavy, they are not able to handle it gently. They drag, which means they get spoiled, and sugar start changing, which means they are not good for processing. And these are some of the reasons why you could find some of them franchise importing red cut chips because of some of these dynamics. And the fact that we didn't know how much, because the bags are different from one county to another, from one season to another. So even the county cannot have good data. So we actually requested, and we worked with the county, all the counties. There was public participation as required by the Constitution, and all the stakeholders were involved. Now, that bit of registration has been, people have been misread by some of the traders pretending to be farmers, just propaganda. Because farmers, according to the regulation, they say farmers may register, but they can register with the associations. And we are actually encouraging them, because as Madam Beatrice is saying, how do you plan for interventions? For example, right now we have e-voucher system going on, because now we were able to lobby, the government accepted to include other crops like potatoes in the e-voucher, where fertilizer is subsidized, seed are subsidized. How do you know how many farmers are planting potato where? So these are important for us to be able to guide the interventions. And those who are misinterpreting, sending propaganda, they are just trying to fight, so that these are people who have been enjoying the status quo, that confusion. And we need to create awareness. We have been doing that, creating awareness, having forums and all this. And anytime we have opportunity, we are trying to enlighten. It has many, many more components, including correction centers, including marketing together. So the propagandists are just picking some areas and twisting them just to make sure that there is that confusion.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Kagongo. Let me go to Nyongesa, because he's also an important player when it comes to the potato. As Calro, what do you think about these regulations, how they were received, before we come to the county government?
Thank you, Philip. There is a history to these regulations, by the way. Talking about the 2019 regulations alone might get us to lose sight of where we have come from. And the resistance that we see now has been persistent from the first initiatives. We mentioned the early ones of around 2014, and before that there was another initiative in 2003. So consistently we have seen, because of entrenched interests, basically people not wanting majority to benefit from what the policy is trying to develop, to create an environment where all players benefit from this vibrant industry. So for us, and by the way, these stakeholder meetings to get the stakeholders to ventilate on the proposed regulations, there were two events, meetings, both which were hosted by our Caro headquarters in Loresho, together with the partners who are here and others who are not. So we have been particularly interested in having to see that this industry grows. And one way of doing this is to ensure that we support these new regulations to ensure that they take root to benefit not only the farmers, but also other stakeholders who have an interest in the potato industry. So we have been working this journey, and this time I think looking at all the indications are that all the elements are coming together to ensure that the farmer particularly benefits from these new regulations.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me go back to Beatrice a little bit. Beatrice, on the same regulations, I think also while this misinformation going around is maybe the farmers have not seen the regulations themselves, or it is in a language that it is not easy for them to unpack and understand. What is maybe should be done to ensure that even the farmers get to read and understand the regulations themselves?
That's a good question. Okay, Tony. I do agree that matters of law may be complicated, and where we are coming from, an unregulated sector, and then it requires a lot of sensitization, a lot of training of various value chain actors. The regulations were gazetted in April 2019. After that, we carried, together with county governments, they were launched nearly in the 16 potato growing counties because the farmers were the greatest beneficiaries. So quickly, we launched these regulations together with county governments, and sensitization has been continuous. I, however, agree that there is need to unpack the regulations into a more understanding language, especially for the growers. And as a directorate, we have developed documents, although they're in English, but these documents have unbundled each and every of those regulations you see. We have what we call an implementation guide. This is a document to the stakeholders, which we give out to the stakeholders. When you go to that implementation guide, it tells the farmer what the regulations required him to do and what he'll benefit from that regulation. And then it goes to transporters, and then it goes to the warehouse operators, the storage men, all the way to processors. That we have unbundled. And this is where we call upon the development partners also to come on board and support, disseminate these regulations and these tools that government has developed, even in matters of even interpreting them in vernacular, and also supporting the initiative to go even to the radio programs so that our farmers also get to understand what is in these regulations. We have also been supported by SNV to develop small handbooks that have been distributed to the counties, which have also unpacked those regulations. Alongside this, sensitization and capacity building is continuous. So we are going to have joint programs with county governments where we are going to talk about the regulations today, tomorrow, and even in future until it sinks. Coming from, since independence, Changing that culture requires also effort, and that is where we are. We are jointly working with our stakeholders and also our partners like NPCK to do a lot of sensitization. Yeah, thank you.
For our viewers back at home, we've also been honored by the County Governor of Nyandarua, Francis Kimemia. Welcome to the show.
Asante.
In the meantime, as I give the governor a little bit of time to get ready, I will go to dinner and we will talk about a little bit of marketing. Marketing has also been a very big issue when it comes to potatoes. I don't know what the International Potato Center, especially when it comes to marketing and value addition.
Thank you very much. I think currently, and probably things should change very soon, is that potatoes is marketed individually here in Kenya. So you find farmers, just as Beatrice says, smallholder farmers just are trying to market their potatoes on their own, and it is not structured. And the idea that SIP and other partners, we partner a lot with National Potato Council and Carlo and the counties, is to organize and structure this marketing. And one of the ways to do this structured marketing is to have farmer-producer organization. Farmer-producer organization just means one voice. So if we have Nyandarua Potato Association or Farmer Cooperative Society or just farmer-producer organization, and we have all the other counties, they can come and form into a union, and so they have one voice. So the one voice would cut across from Taita all the way to all the other counties, in Mount Elgon through Nyandarua and the other counties, and they have one voice. And this one voice is that the farmers understand the cost of production. And so they can be able to bargain, knowing that we cannot sell at this lower price, because then we are not even breaking even. Okay. Now, this farmer organization can also lead aggregation centers. So then potatoes can be brought together. This farmer organization can also bring in the issue on standard. I think one of the challenges that we have in Kenya, we have the production is low, but also the quality is low. And I think, as the National Potato Council CEO has said, sometimes you find the high-end restaurants actually bringing in potatoes from outside simply because we are not meeting their quality. And so using this farmer-producer organization, they can bring in the issue on standardization or sorting and grading. And one of the things that we look at farmer-producer organization doing is probably incentives, to be able to incentivize farmers that are able to bring quality potatoes for a direct market. The other thing that farmer producer organization can do is introduce either contract farming or direct market. They can be able to help in terms of having direct access to the markets, whether it's for processors or for high-end hotels or for even outside the country. We have the potential to be able to take potatoes outside the country. We do get from Tanzania, and it's also an opportunity to, because we have a huge potential. Another thing that farmer producer organization is capacity. You find that when partners come and they want to train, it's easy to actually go through farmer producer organization, because then there is a union, the Apex union, and probably the farmer producer, and they have the branches. So you can be able to disseminate whether it is information or whether you are also supporting finances, because then a farmer producer can also be the collateral when it comes to looking for finances. So there is a lot of benefits when you form a farmer producer organization, because then you have a higher bargaining power to be able to bargain about your produce. Now, coming to the value addition. We do produce, as you said in your introduction, we produce about 3 metric tons or 2 to 3 metric tons per year. We do consume fresh, most of it. And currently, we are only processing in the country, I think it's less than 10%. In some countries, they do about 50%. Why? Because potatoes is very perishable, so you cannot keep it for long. So there is need for value addition to be able to increase the shelf life, to be able to have it. Imagine potato, sometimes you can't take it to northern parts of the country because it's very perishable. But if there was value addition, then it's possible to take even to school children, and be able, we know that there's a problem with drought in those parts of the country. So potato can be value added to many products. We have two main products, either the food or the industrial. So it can be also the feed for the animals. For your information, even what you peel from potatoes can be used for feed. The potatoes can be used to actually produce starch for the industry. In fact, the other day we were talking with Mr. Washira and saying it's high time. But then we are saying before we reach the industrial products, the non-food, first of all, we need to concentrate on the food because we need to feed our population. We need to feed ourselves. And so we are talking about value addition, and value addition starts from the farm.
All right.
Right from the time of planting the seed, right from the, and all the way, because if you don't follow the best practices, then you cannot get a good produce at the end. So you are adding the value along the chain. Now, once it's produced, one of the things that part of the value addition is also just sorting and grading so that you are able to do, you're able to market differently. Now, it can be value added in terms of processing. Right now, most of what we are doing is fish, chips and crisps. But we can go into the other, like dehydrated products or frozen chips that can be done. And this can be done by the youth. They can do it at their farm. They can be able to be supported to do that. And they just deliver to the cities or they deliver to the market. So it can be frozen chip. There are many other ways that can be done. And this is an area that we need to exploit so that we increase that shelf life. Not to forget the issue on storage, the cold storage. The storage so that then potatoes can be able to be released based on the demand. Because sometimes we release so much potatoes because we are based on the rainy season and we just release. But if we can be able to hold it in a cold storage, if we can be able to store them, then even 1 month, 2 weeks can make a difference in terms of the marketing. So those are the areas that we are trying to look into at International Potato Center in partnership with the partners that we are here today.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Dina. Maybe now I can bring in the governor and tell us a little bit what Nyandarua County is doing when it comes to helping their farmers also market their potatoes. But even as you talk about marketing, Bwana Governor, maybe you can touch a little bit about the new regulations, especially the 50-kilogram bag. How was it received by your county and by your farmers, and what is the county doing to also ensure that farmers really understand those regulations properly?
It's a very good question. The regulations in terms of getting rid of the so-called katanyoka bila sumu. We used to have a big bag, the tall bag, twice our sizes. It was known as katanyoka bila sumu, and we campaigned against it. We requested the Minister of Agriculture, the National Minister, and the AG, and the President himself to support the 13 potato growing counties to get rid of that bag and bring in the 50-kilogram bag. And the 50-kilogram bag was taken very well by the farmers. A lot of stakeholder meetings were held. We had 350 stakeholders who participated in the public participation. The issue, one of the challenges has been if Nyandarua implements the 50-kilogram rule, and Nairobi and maybe Narok or another county doesn't introduce it and continues to bring in the katanyoka bila sumu, then of course the whole initiative is defeated. So there has been that. We have been coordinating the governors, the potato growing governors, to that we all enforce the 50-kilogram rule. But very quickly, maybe I need to also indicate that some other rules came on board, requiring that the police, the chiefs, the washing of potatoes, and so on and so forth. Those ones were not taken very well. One, there was no participation with the farmers. I also didn't know about them myself. So we told the farmers to stick to the 50-kilogram rule as we deal with other issues of, the washing and the police and the chiefs going to inspect the potatoes in the farms. I think there was some propaganda that came in. Some of it was not true, but that the farmers were not very comfortable with, and that could not go very well with the farmers. That is on the 50-kilogram rule, and everybody agrees we need the 50-kilogram rule. I think the challenge is, what about the pricing? Does it, in the final analysis, is what you take home. Sure. It's what you take home. What is the price per kilogram? Are farmers getting what they're supposed to get per kilogram? Are they putting money in the pocket? I think that is what we should really focus on in a county that is leading in potato. 550,000 metric tons per year, 13 billion shillings into the county, almost 100,000 farmers depending on the potato industry. Those are not small. That is 7,000 on potato. That's not a small amount. We lead. We are number one in the nation in terms of potato production. Potato, but we are only at 30% productivity. Okay. We are number one in the country at 30% productivity. So you can imagine if we have experiments with the GTZ, with the Germans, and we're able to produce almost 3 times what you're currently producing, from 30 to 60 per hectare tons, and that shows you the potential as a food basket for the nation, what is possible to do in this country. So we are putting, as a country, we are putting various initiatives. We have already started constructing the potato processing plant for the first time in the history of Nyandarua County. We lead in potato growing, yes, and I've talked about the 12 billion shillings coming out of the potato industry, but you find possibly only 30% comes back to the farmer. Most of the monies are in other counties or in other jurisdictions where the potato, where value addition is done. So the solution in this county and in other countries, I believe, is the issue of value addition. What do you do with the potato, and what can you get from the potato, and which varieties of potatoes do you introduce in the county? We just heard that we are still importing potatoes for the KFCs, these high-end potato consumers. Those potatoes are from South Africa or from Egypt. Yet we have the best soils in this county. So why can't we do it in Nyandarua County? Then why can't we process our own potatoes in the county? That's why we have begun. I was talking about the potato processing plant, which, as a county, in collaboration with the national government, we are constructing in this county. The contractor moved in yesterday. We'll be commissioning it possibly next week to the groundbreaking and the laying of the foundation stone. And that will be a game changer in the county, that you're able to process your potatoes. You can also be able to there'll be several lines. So apart from just washing and packaging, but you can also move even to the extent of producing starch from the potato. I know if I talk about vodka, that may not go very well, but potatoes can also produce vodka. Russian vodka is largely from potato. You can produce it for external markets. So the challenge, and I think this is where we need to work with the national government, because the county alone can be expected to construct several industries with the capitation that we have in the county, coming up with value addition industries. I may put in the potato processing plant, but we still need a lot of support, especially in research and development from the national government and from the potato organizations. The national government is now completing one cold storage plant in Okarau, next to where the potato processing plant or factory is coming up. So that chain, that chain will be quite optimal, quite economical. That you have the cold storage here and you have the factory here. So I could be able to buy the potatoes from the farmers as a county, procure some money, buy the potatoes from the farmers at a competitive price. We can store the potatoes for even a year. I'm told that storage can store between 6 to 1 year, and then the farmer is able to move on with their businesses with a competitive price in the pocket. And I think that is the journey that we need to discuss here, so that as we tell farmers to produce more potatoes, move from 30% to possibly 60 to 70, then what do you do with that potato? We have to get markets outside this country. Okay. We can't just rely on Kenyan market. We have to go to Congo, we have to go to Uganda, those who don't produce potatoes, Rwanda. We have to export our potatoes outside the country. We'll be leading a delegation to Dubai in February of potato growers to also go and market the Nyandarua potato to external market. We have to think without the box now, because farmers will able to produce their potatoes, but they're not getting money, adequate money for what they have. I think very quickly, we also need to handle the issue of the National Cereals and Produce Board. Is a discussion we are having with the national government. If you can guarantee maize farmers, wherever they are, that we shall buy your maize, why can't you also guarantee my potato farmers that you change it from national cereals to national crop, produce board, so farmers can take their potatoes to national cereals and immediately take the potatoes in cold storages, cold lorries, Turkana and feed, the wananchi there who are farming or northeastern or other counties where potatoes are required. I think we need to think through the issue much more seriously. We have registered the potato dealers. We have also been able to designate and register collection dealers in the county and centers, collection centers in this county, so that the potato market becomes more predictable, and we know exactly who are we dealing with. Are they registered? Are they keeping hygiene? Are they managing the potato issues well? The issue of roads in this county, the road network here has been very, very poor. We have embarked on making sure that the road network, if you moved around Kambaga here, you look at the roads, the kind of roads that we have been able to, we bought machines, we're able to do our own roads, so that farmers can be able to move their produce to whatever markets they want to move to at an affordable costs. Otherwise, if the roads are very poor, then the cost of transportation become very inhibitive. The issues of irrigation and water is something we also...
You move to
Yes.
irrigation, Governor. Let's remain about on the point of dealing with the buyers and the marketers. And I think we've been having an issue, especially when it comes to the new regulations. And I want to bring in Mr. Kagwongo here to tell us a little bit how the... All right, okay.
We have 2 seed multiplication plans. I think it's good to mention that. One we are constructing with the EU, the European Union, at a cost of 117 million shillings to come up with clean seeds. The problem here since 1963 or even before is the same seeds that have been multiplied over and over again. So the productivity is very, very, very low. Whether you put in fertilizers or you put in animal manure, the seeds is a major problem, and the seeds are very expensive. So the county is supporting farmers in terms of procuring seeds, but you can only get so much. You can't get the seeds you want. Even if I wanted to buy, say, seeds worth 20 million shillings, I will not get them. They're not available because of the competition. So we have a tissue culture factory that we have put up in Ojororok as a county government in collaboration with the European Union. It is already started work. At the Tumaini NYS, the national government has also been able to put up a tissue and potato seed multiplication and plant. Then we have also farmers who we have identified, especially the youth and the women, to become the champions in terms of multiplication of the potato seeds. The seeding is a major challenge again in this country and in all the counties in Kenya.
Okay.
So these are some of the issues that we need to collaborate with the potato players, institutions, whether the council and the ministry, to really see how do we get clean seeds and avoiding the challenge that we had with oranges. Oranges came and destroyed the entire orange industry in this country from outside. How do we make sure that we have clean potato seeds in the country, adequate for farmers? We can support the fertilizers. We give subsidized fertilizers, but only so much, very, very little. So these are the challenges that farmers are able to are facing. They're not able to afford inputs in terms of seeds, inputs in terms of fertilizer, and these are some of the farmers are smallholder farmers, and the potatoes are not selling very well. So you can see it's a vicious cycle that we need to break through. Then bring in the issue of financial institutions that are able to fund, like we are doing with the Equity Bank, able to organize farmers and women, and they're able to be given, they are trained, and they can be able to be provided with the loans from 10,000 shillings to 1 million shillings, and with that capacity building, this I see is the future in terms of maybe I can stop there to let you, and also USIU, the university, USIU University. Right. We also have a collaboration with them again to again capacity building, training farmers. People think potatoes are just there to be grown and eaten, but it's a very scientific product. It requires a lot of management, a lot of technology, a lot of specialization, the rotation, the seed, the soil testing. These are initiatives that have been engaged in the county. We are testing our soils. Most of the soils are very acidic because of use of the DAP, and we are encouraging farmers to move into organic. We are also almost moving to number 1 in terms of milk production. So we have a lot of animal manure in the farms. If we can move into organic farming and supplement it with the appropriate fertilizer, and then that will be a game changer in the county. So you can see the challenges are myriad, they can be managed.
Okay.
It's a long journey that has to be undertaken, but it is doable. But the issue to the farmer is the price. How do
Of the
we,
potato.
the way we have been able to look at milk and moved prices to almost 40, and we're waiting to see whether we can move into 50 shillings per kilo. We also need to see what is the best pricing that we can that we cannot allow to go below in terms of, I mean, the reducible minimum price per kilogram of potatoes. We should move towards that. That you can, the way 3,000 per 90 kilogram of maize. What about the potato? Then we should be able to say we cannot buy below so much from the farmers for the 50 kilogram, potato bag.
Okay.
Yes.
But Governor, there's also a very big issue when it comes to climate change and global warming.
Yes.
Maybe Mr. Nyongesa can tell us what exactly CALRO is doing, especially to help potato farmers also still produce enough, even as the climate change and affect their production.
Yeah, thank you for that good question. Indeed, the changes we see happening around climate issues, excessive rainfall or droughts coming in, have direct impacts on potato farming and productivity, ultimately having an impact also on general food security for the country. So CARO is one of the two national level institutions implementing a project funded by the World Bank called the Kenya Climate Smart Agricultural Project. So covering a total of 8 value chains, but implemented in 24 counties. And potato is one of those value chains. So this project seeks to achieve 3 key wins, as we would call them, around climate smart agriculture. One of them is increased productivity. The second one is improving resilience, farmer resilience. And the third one is reduced greenhouse emissions. So CARO has approached this in a way that first of all we do an inventory of our technologies, innovations, management practices in a way that is easy to deliver to the farmers in the counties which have prioritized potato under this project. And one of those counties is Nyandarua. The second one is Bomet, Uasin Gishu, Taita Taveta, Nyeri, and Elgeyo Marakwet. So around the area of improving productivity, we have zeroed in on the question of seed, as you have heard from the governor and the other panelists. It continues to be a deterrent, a constraint to production. So to increase productivity in these challenging times of climate change and the depressing aspects of diseases, so the question is, how do we increase the availability of seed to farmers? Mm-hmm. One way has been to establish bulking sites, because seed is bulky, so it has to be produced nearer where farmers can access it more easily. That impacts also on affordability. So through this project, we have prioritized also varieties which stand up to disease pressure, because we are talking about how do farmers become resilient in these unusual times. So if you give them a variety that is not as demanding in terms of input, spraying for diseases and pests, then you are minimizing the cost of production. And also, because the variety itself is resistant to these disease attacks, the yield will be higher than when a variety is susceptible. So apart from promoting those resistant varieties, mm-hmm. Some of which are here on display as we will see around, farmers are most familiar with the Shangi, which is associated with us, CARO, because it's a variety developed jointly with the CIP. But we have many others that respond to the farmer needs, the other stakeholders like the processors. We have them. So when we do this bulking of seeds and registering private seed entrepreneurs to come in and make investments with the support from CARO, then we increase the availability of seed. that has a way that also promotes productivity. Around the area of seed, one of the challenges has been the high cost associated with registration as seed merchants with KEFIS.
Okay.
Because a seed merchant, before they are allowed to trade in, to produce and trade in seed, they need to be registered and put on the national register of seed companies, and that requires a registration fee of 75,000. So many companies find this is high, especially for the ones who are coming in initially to make the initial investment. Caro has developed a system where such companies can be allowed for a period of time to produce seed with the support of Caro under the Caro cover for the 1 year. So again, in the various counties that I mentioned, we have had both private companies and individual farmers or farmer groups organized and taking advantage of this. So we are seeing movement in seed getting available to farmers previously who are recycling many times, as the governor mentioned. So those 3 wins, we see that the project and many others, of course, are making a contribution towards mitigating these challenges associated with climate change and how it impacts potato farming in Kenya.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Nyongesa. I'm also being told we need to take another short commercial break, and then we will be back in a few. For our viewers back at home, we are still in Nyandarua County, the home of the potato, and we will be back in a short while.
19th August each year, we celebrate the National Potato Day in order to raise the profile of this important food crop, therefore promoting its production, processing, consumption, marketing, and trade. This year, the Standard Group, through the Farm Kenya initiative, in partnership with Nyandarua County Government, Agriculture and Food Authority, National Potato Council of Kenya, International Potato Center CIP, Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization, and key stakeholders in the industry will have a live forum on KTN News and KTN Farmers TV on Thursday, 19th August from 9 a.m. to discuss the state of potato farming in the country and to explore steps that can be taken to support and promote development of the entire potato industry.